Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Dragon Warrior 3. In the last part, we got here to the Elven Village. Now let's talk to this guy. That the village was put to sleep as my son's fault. Because he eloped with an elfin princess, I've come here in my son's place to seek amends, but they won't forgive us. Yeah, that's a reference to Noanials to the east. Long ago, my daughter Anne fell in love with a human. She took the dream ruby and went to him, never to return. After all, what hope do an elf and a human have? Anne must be fooling herself. I can't stand the humans. Get away from me. And that is a queen, by the way. That's not a king. So now we have a bit of an idea of what we have to do next. To help Noanials get out of its sleep curse, we need to find that dream ruby. Essentially, and possibly those two in the process. Also, as you can see here, as I'm showing you, these are my new stats, because I did level grinding up to... I got everyone up to level 15 off-screen. Now, one of the things I kind of like and dislike about the Dragon Quest series is that since it's a collective experience game, where instead of every level having a different experience between, it's your max experience has to reach a certain level. Some levels can take really long to get to, like level 17 especially, for I think it was the fighter takes forever to get to. Either way, welcome to this cave, which I don't think actually has a name, because this was back in the NES era, and it's not Final Fantasy. A lot of caves are just caves. Because Final Fantasy always kind of had names for things. Either way, first new enemies are Madhounds and Vampires. Madhounds have 48 HP, give 71 XP, drop 17 gold, and can drop an intelligence seed, so sell that if you get one. And they can cast defense, which lowers part of defense. And then we got the Vampire, which has 35 HP, drops 82 XP and 23 gold, can drop a luck seed, sell it. And that's pretty much it. I suppose if they're in groups they can be threatening, but since they have no real special abilities as far as I can recall, I'm not even sure if they are a concentrated attack pattern enemy. They're not very hard at all. Obviously, if I'm not going down a certain route, because there's pretty much nothing there, it's just a dead end, meant to get you into random encounters for exploring. So I'm just pretty much always going for a treasure chest if I'm going a certain way, or I'm just going towards progress. Pronunciation like that's weird. Wow, that's a decent chunk of gold. Well, I have a lot, but that's still a decent chunk. You know, I gotta say though, for the most part, Dragon Quest, or Warrior 3, sorry, I'll be switching between those because they're technically both right. Has a really good balance in cave difficulty. You still need to grind, don't get me wrong, but for the most part, they're still pretty good. And next enemy is a Man-Eater Moth. 26 HP, drop 74 XP, and 18 gold. Can drop a poison needle, so if you don't have one, that's pretty good. They can cast Surround, which, as I mentioned, lowers your hit percentages, and they can call for help, meaning they can replace fallen comrades or even get more. And they also ignore formation, if I recall, so that can suck. I know I forgot to mention that during the Kandar fight, but Kandar and his henchmen did that as well. What that essentially means is anyone has a chance of getting hit equally. And that's an Acorn of Life, or Acorns of Life for some reason. What that does, that increases the max HP of the user by 1 to 5. However, due to the detrimental reason I mentioned the last part, don't use them. Sell them! I really do wish status boosting items like that were useful, because I really like those kind of items. Like, I use golden and silver apples a lot in Final Fantasy IV, but oh well. Now, this is kind of a break area. In fact, this is actually a really good area to grind if you needed to, because the center tile in this group of 5 is actually a healing point. I forget if that restores MP, but I know it restores HP for a fact. Now we want to head this general direction. You know, I do kind of wish that games had much more cooperative transitions to go with the music, but, well. As I mentioned, I think it was... I forget what game I mentioned that in. I think it may have been Golden Sun. But I really like it when RPGs don't restart the music after a battle, because it gets really annoying in some games. And next new enemy is a Deadly Toadstool. 30 HP, drops 75 XP and 18 gold, can drop a Wing of the Wyvern, which is pretty useful. Their attacks can put you to sleep, as can their breath attack, which is pretty annoying. In high groups, especially with other more powerful enemies, these guys can actually be pretty deadly, so take them out first if you can. They're kind of like crowd control, really. Also, here's a fun fact. I actually didn't know this until I was doing research for this LP. But the Pilgrim actually has a mustache. Well, the male Pilgrim does, at least. Because the thing is, while I played this game a lot, I've only really played the NES version more so than the Game Boy Color version, which is why I can't tell you many differences between the two. I'm gonna see if I can find a list of the differences in between parts or something towards the end of the game, but eh. And even then, the Game Boy version, while it's technically better, is also technically worse. Though overall, I think the best version of this to play would be either the, I think, iOS or mobile version, but I think that's Japan only, and the Super Famicom version, also Japan only, but at least you can ROM hack that easily. I really do like this song. Dragon Quest 3's soundtrack is actually really good. Not my favorite, that's probably Dragon Quest 8's soundtrack, because that's just full-out orchestra, and god, it's so good. A lot of gold in this area, actually. In fact, there's a lot of gold chests in this game, but I'll let them pass because, unlike maybe Dragon Quest 1 and 2, gold chests are actually very useful here. Because for the most part, gold chests, as far as I can recall in Dragon Quest 1 and 2, were pretty worthless, because you didn't get nearly enough to supplement the effort. Mind you, for what I have, doing all my grinding, this is still a very paltry amount of money. But that's still a good 2-3 random encounters at this point, so I'll let it pass. Though that one has no excuse, really. You want to enter this little room here because that's how you get to this wing of the Wyvern, Fairy Water, rather, much more easily. I could have sworn that was wing of the Wyvern, huh. As I think I mentioned in between parts, Fairy Water allows you to repel random battles. It's essentially a repel from Pokemon. Wow, that was an encounter rate. And in here we get the Dream Ruby. A message is also found inside the treasure chest. Forgive me, Mother, for departing this world ahead of you. If my love for him, that of human for elf, is forbidden in this world, at least I can be with him in the one beyond. Anne. So, yeah, apparently the old man's son, grandson, I forget which, and the girl died. Yeah, dark. Mind you, I still think the beginning of Dragon Quest II, which, mind you, they added to the American version with the whole castle being burnt to the ground and that family practically murdered, was still probably one of the darkest moments in the franchise. And now we're back in the Elven Village. I don't even think this place has a name. It's also very small. It's only really that shop and the queen. Is that what you carried the Dream Ruby by any chance? What, are you saying that Anne and that man cast themselves into an underground lake? Oh, why was I so hard on them? What am I to do? Now I see. Here, take this wake-up powder with you and go back to the village. Then you may remove the curse. Anne would want it that way. Hoenn, forgive your mother. Frocky. I don't know why I said that. So yeah, now we can finally go wake up Noanials, which is technically a side quest, actually. If you want information on where to go next, you have to do it. But you can actually just head right to the next area and say screw off to these people. Anyway, next enemy is an Avenger Raven. 25 HP, drops 68 XP, 18 gold, and an agility seed. Other than that, pretty vanilla. Though that makes me wish that well, no, technically Raven was part of the Justice League, so. Next to enemy is a Rogue Knight, 55 HP, 91 XP, drops 36 gold, and can drop a Copper Sword, which is pretty useless. They can also call for help from a healer-type enemy, which is essentially another slime that can cast a heal spell. Nothing too bad, but they have pretty high power and HP for this point, so if you run into one of them, plus a lot of other enemies, you might want to consider running away. Especially if you're at the levels that you were when you first, that I was at least, when you first got to Bromley. Alright, now that we're back in Noanials, let's use that wake-up powder. Also, that's another problem I have with this game. Limited inventory, but then again, I just hate that in games in general. Look, the villagers are starting to wake up. Welcome to the village of Noanials. I'm not sure if that's based off a real place. I know a lot of the major towns are, but I know for a fact that a lot of them aren't as well. I think it's pretty much just the places that are actually that are actually half castles, that actually have a castle are based off real locations. Long ago in Assaram, I heard tell of the Magic Key. Assaram is east of Bromley. That is our next major town. Now let's head up to the inn. In specific, that guy there in the top left room who's trapped behind a thieves' door. Well, technically speaking, they're just normal doors, it's the fact that we're using a thieves' key to pick the lock, rather. Art thou the son of the brave hero Valiahan Ortega? I thought it was only yesterday that Ortega was in the room next door. He must have headed to Assaram in search for a key, but it's hard to believe that it's been so many years since he was here. So that's where we have to head next, to Assaram, because that's where our father was previously seen, so might as well, right? And now we're back in Bromley because this is the best place to go if you want to head to, well, the place. You want to head east, and once we cross this bridge, we're in a new enemy domain, I believe, though I think you can technically run into these guys slightly to the north as well. Because we have a new encounter against wild apes. 50 HP, 80 XP, 22 gold, can drop a strength seed, and they can call for reinforcements, which is probably the most dangerous thing. Because these guys can be pretty powerful. Yeah, that's a good 20 HP there. That can suck if there's like 3 or more. One of the biggest things I'm technically abusing, though, as I mentioned before, is the parry fight glitch. A lot of people don't take advantage of that because they feel it's a cheat, but... No, because they feel cheap for using it, rather. And I would feel like that if I didn't think that while this game is one of the series' most balanced, it still wasn't hard. Anyway, next new enemy is a vampire cat. 35 HP, 87 XP, 24 gold, can drop an animal suit, which I think is an equipment for someone. No, it's actually equipped by everyone. 8 defense. It has no practical value, though. Also, I should mention, not in between parts, that jump cut where I went from Noanials to Bromley, I actually gave the chain sickle that the hero had to the pilgrim, and got the pilgrim and the soldier, no, the hero and the soldier, a broadsword from the town shop there in Bromley, which I recommend you do because it's a pretty decent attack boost. I think the soldier now actually has over 100 to attack. And there's Assaram. If I didn't get into an encounter 2 steps before it. Assaram is actually, if I recall, based off somewhere in the Middle East, but I'm not exactly sure. We only really need to talk to one guy here, though, to learn where we have to go next. I hear a country named Isis lies in the desert to the west. That's our next location. I think I'm going to use the inn, but some things of note in this town is that if you go to the bottom left house in the middle of the night, there's belly dancers, which is a thing, and there's also someone who can tell your fortune, which I think is just a censorship for a prostitute, essentially. But that's not really worth showing off. So let's head towards Isis, which is fairly clearly, if you know mythology, based off of Egypt. Best way to get that, in my opinion, is just follow the coast. You'll find it eventually, because, well, there's a desert right there. And right down here is actually a little shrine. Let's check this place out. There's a swamp tile there, so you're gonna get damaged before entering it, but oh well. Yeah, because hazard tiles are still a thing in the series, sadly. Are we in search of the magic key? Yes, and I hear the key lies in a pyramid in the northern part of the desert. Before you go there, head to the castle of Isis, and you'll find it at the edge of the oasis. Admittedly, I didn't talk to him my first playthrough, so it took me a while to find the place. Either way, next new enemy is a Infernus crab, which have approximately 40 HP, could drop 104 XP, 28 gold, or a bronze shield. Well, no, they always drop 2 of those, but they don't always drop the bronze shield. They're pretty annoying because they actually have a spell that it can increase their defenses by a very high amount. So you'll eventually be doing like 1 damage per turn per character, so it's just not worth fighting them in groups of 2 or more, really. Either way, here's the town of Isis. This place took me a while to find because I didn't think it would actually be in the oasis. There's not really anything of note in the town itself. There's some NPCs you can talk to, obviously. But they all pretty much say the same thing. Check out the pyramid, it might be cool. But there's apparently traps in it. But before we go there, let's head over to the Castle of Isis. Because there's something really good to get there. I have to question the gigantic moat, though, because it seems kind of pointless in a structure sense, because if they're already in the town, you're pretty much screwed as it is. Unless that's a drawbridge. Now, you could head directly north to get to the Queen, however, I want to head up here and through this secret passage. Because there's a certain item that someone hints to in the town called a meteorite armband. This is essentially how you find it. You head down here, and then you head north. It's essentially kind of like the equivalent to the poison needle back in Kanav. Except this is much easier to find, honestly. And it is in here. Hello, skeleton. Are you the one to disturb my sleep? No. Oh, not you, huh? Sorry, my mistake. Anyway, the meteorite armband is one of my favorite items in the game. You can't equip it through the equip menu. It's an actual, like, use to equip item, kind of like the dragon scale back in the first game. But it is amazing, because it doubles the agility of whoever's wearing it. 31 will turn into 62, and for a pilgrim, that's really good, because that means you can get your crowd control and healing spells out right off the bat. Some, like myself back in Golden Sun, actually prefer to have their healer be the slowest so they can heal any damage the enemies might do during that turn. But for this point in the game, this is really good, because the pilgrim's more useful in battle for his crowd control spells, less so than his healing. Or more so than his healing. You could theoretically put it on your tank characters, but they're not there to go fast anyway. Their damage is going to be done no matter what. I don't think agility even factors into the damage equation, so it's not worth it, really. So, while I'm heading up to the throne room, might as well go over some stuff that's been going on in life. I got Metal Gear 5, and that's really good so far. I'm about 35% done. And I'm honestly impressed with it so far, especially the licensed music they managed to get, because I'll be honest, I take a lot of outposts down to this tune of Man-Eater or The Final Countdown. Story's been a bit wackier than usual, though. I have a feeling I know where they're going with something based off one of the cutscenes with a certain character that was thought to be dead, who I have a feeling is probably still dead anyway. But I'll see what happens when I get to, I think the main story ends around chapter 30. I guess I'll see when. I forget. Anyway, in this room, I forget who mentions it, but the kids actually give you a hint towards something. The round button is the button to the sun. Open the door with a small button. A wish to try, a wish to test. First to the east, then to the west. That is a hint towards something in the next dungeon, so keep that in mind. And here's the Pharaohess. Pharaoh? I forget what the term for female pharaoh is, if there even is a separate one. She's pretty much just a different sprited king. And with that, though, we're pretty much done in the town of Isis, aside from maybe using the inn. Because one thing I do actually, after the part ends, is grind everyone up to level 17 just to be safe for this next area. You're pretty much good at the levels you're at if you've been following the playthrough, though. This is just me being absolutely safe. But we don't go that one last enemy, a Flamipede, which is really funny sounding, actually. Flamipedes have 45 HP, 96 XP, 42 gold, drop an intelligence seed, and that's about it. I think they have some sort of fire elemental attack. I honestly forget. Nothing too worrisome, though. Either way, the pyramid I'm heading to is north of the town, but with that, I'm actually going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 4, we'll be checking out the pyramid. See you guys then.